My name is Jo-Ann Endicott. I'm born in Australia, and in 1973 I left the Australian Ballet Company where I did my study in dance, and left the company because this kind of ballet dancer was not really my passion. So I left and went to London and stopped dancing and just sort of took it up as a small hobby. So in this time, in 1973, Pina Bausch was looking for dancers to start her company in Wuppertal. And somehow I did a class in the dance center and she saw me there, and I was a little bit chubby, a little bit fat, but she immediately liked me. And I wasn't really looking for a job, but she asked me, "Jo, are you looking for a job?" And I said, "No," but I turned around and I saw this lady and she was so beautiful that I said, "Yes, I'm looking for a job." And then I went to Wuppertal and I started with the company beginning in 1973. And I've more or less stayed there with some. I have 3 children, I stopped, I took time off, I came back. But working with Pina is something, it becomes an obsession, and I never could get rid of this obsession, even though I tried to. The work with her is so amazing. You give so much of yourself and she gives so much of herself, and together it's a beautiful work that comes out of it. We were looking for the same sort of thing. We were looking for something new, something honest, something which has to do with humanity, with people, with love, with all sorts of things to do with people. And working with this woman is, once you've worked with her, you don't want to work with anybody else. She was very critical. She knew what she wanted, and you gave it to her, yeah, what she wanted somehow. Also sometimes without even knowing what she wanted. She is very strict, definitely strict. Yeah, it's her work. I mean, we're doing her work and it has to be done proper. And she has this face like this when it's not right. But you see then at the end how she said thank you and how she became nice and soft and genuinely happy. But it's work, and it's important work, and it is under her name, Pina Bausch. Everything has to be exact, everything has to be correct.
Manche ist schwierig, was jetzt ganz besonders auffällig ist bei den Sachen, wie das Vorstellen, die Hüfte oder der Hüftschritt. Solche Dinge, wo die Augen wirklich geradeaus sind. Und das ist wie ein Pokerface. Man weiß nicht, was jemand denkt. Ja. Kalt und eigentlich, ne? Ja. Ernst. Und aber bei manchen, ihr wandert zu sehr mit den Augen rum.
When she asked me in 2007, "Jo, I have a new idea, maybe you would like to do the Kontakthof now with teenagers over 14, I thought, oh my God, she must be mad now asking me to do this. When they first came to us, the teenagers, they couldn't even walk in those high heel shoes. They didn't know they had hands. They didn't know, of course they know they had hands, but if you ask for a movement, it has to go into the hand as well. You can't have something hanging on the end, or the feet, they have to be together. You have a neck, you can't always look up this high. You have eyes, you have a mouth, you have ears, you have a body, and to become aware of what you can do and say with the body. Yeah, they were like newborn children, and it's amazing now if you see them in the film or on stage. They look like professionals now.
Wo ist der Blick, Joy? Weil wenn ich das Blick nicht habe, dann können wir das alles vergessen. Ja. Und. Nee, geh nicht so früh mit dem Kopf, ja? Jetzt hier, das ist der schönste Moment. Mehr, you're losing it. Du hast es verloren. Ja, du weißt doch selber, es ist sehr, sehr anstrengend. Es ist ein langer Weg, Joy. Du musst mir nur sagen, willst du, dass wir das noch suchen?
Ich weiß nicht, ob ich das schaffe, also...
Dieses...
Ja, das so rauslassen und keine Ahnung.
I like non-professionals. I find it very interesting to get the feeling, to get the person out of the person and not just the technique. I like the mistakes. I think it's very interesting. I also like to see perfect dance where the feet are turned out, everybody is poised and has épaulement. But to go back to something very basic, just working with normal people, I find it very interesting. And because it's such a long process, you feel very proud of them in the end when they make it, and somehow you feel you did something to help them in this difficult age to find themselves. Because I created Kontakthof myself in 1978, this piece sort of sticks inside me. All the pieces you create with Pina, they sort of live inside you for the rest of your life somehow.
Soll ich dich an der Hand?
Mhm.
Okay. Jetzt los! Oh, besser. Oder?
Nein.
I'm looking for something which was important also in myself to be able to create this part in 1978. I know what I'm looking for, but you have to be very careful, and it takes a long time to be able to look so far inside these girls and boys and then ask them something very intimate and personal to try this. Can you try that? Always they would say, no, I can't do it, Joe, I can't do it. But I tried to say, yes, you can, let's do it together. Okay, if you don't want to do it today, we try it next week. But somewhere or other, they had to get rid of their inhibitions and do it. But it took a long time. And we had enough time. I mean, more time would have been better, but I think what came out is something so touching and so beautiful that it's completely right for the piece. You went from Saturday to Saturday, and you asked straight away for discipline. This was very important, for motivation, and that they come every week. But you had to also be a little bit funny. Like, I like to be the clown sometimes. And I think if it wasn't that Benédicte and I were also interesting people, you wouldn't have been able to hold them there. What is this ballet Kontakthof? Well, it's not a ballet. It's sort of a universal piece which has something to do with every single person, because everything that's in there is about everyday life, everyday feelings. And it's enhanced very beautifully with this lovely music. It's very simply made. There are a lot of circles in it, a lot of diagonals, a lot of squares. People have a seat. It's like a meeting hall where people meet, a dance hall maybe. It's a sort of simple piece somehow. You sit there, you watch it, you understand it how you want to understand it. It's about love, about hate, relationships. In the beginning years by Pina, there was a lot of themes in her pieces about men and women. And in this piece particularly, it goes through the whole piece. The movements are not that difficult, which makes it possible for non-professionals to do it. It's just, you know, in the circle we just do so simple things, very effective, minimal things, which have a very strong Wirkung. What's Wirkung in English? It projects very strong feelings.
Bei uns ist es oft so, dass wir erstens nicht wissen, was die Bedeutungen an sich bedeuten, was die Bewegungen an sich bedeuten sollen. Und außerdem ist immer noch die Unsicherheit da, dass man nicht weiß, was kommt jetzt nach was.
Es ist halt viel Arbeit, ne? Das kommt einfach nach und nach dazu. Ne? Zum Beispiel gibt es eine Stelle, wenn ihr, außer dass er vielleicht an der falschen Stelle angefangen hat, dieses Karussell da. Diese beiden Jungs, die sich da treffen vor dem Mikro, ne? Eigentlich war das immer so, die trafen sich da und guckten sich immer eigentlich die Mädchen an da. Und deswegen trafen sie sich da und das war dann eigentlich dieses kleine, eure kleine Geschichte am Mikro, das war so eine kleine Anmach im Bezug zu den Mädchen dort. Ihr macht das jetzt zu sehr zu mir. Aber das ist ja eine Sache, die kommt eigentlich erst noch, ne?
When Pina starts a new piece, maybe she has a small idea where it might be taking her or us, but it's something very vague. She can't put it on paper. We find the way through questions and answers on her dances. So she might have asked, you know, little things like, what would it look like, 6 gestures if you had shoes on which were too small on your feet? And so in the film, there's this scene in the piece where there's a diagonal with 6 of the dancers, and each comes out and shows little gestures how their shoes might be hurting them. Or this theme in the piece, Kontakthof, which goes through this tenderness question, tenderness on yourself. What do you do when you're alone, when you're tender? What can happen with this tenderness thing if you speed it up or do it with a partner, or if many people do it on one girl? It can become very brutal or it can become very touching. This was a rather big theme which went through the Kontakthof. I think if somebody has never seen anything of Pina Bausch, to see this film is a wonderful way to start, because you see, first of all, you see her, and seeing her just being there, it's the last time we saw her before she passed away. You see how she might have looked, how critical then she could be, how very serious. Working with her was like so important. We're not just doing a ballet or a piece, it's giving something vital to the world. And each person that watches the film or a performance of Pina can take something home to think about, because there's no distance between the stage and the public. It comes across, you are affected, just sitting there. There are other pieces we've done, more brutal pieces than Kontakthof, Blaubart, Bluebeard. I had a Bluebeard is from Bartók. I had a letter once, we did Bluebeard in Paris, and I had a letter afterwards from a man who wanted to commit suicide. It's just a small story. And he must have been very depressed, this man. I don't know who he was, but he wrote me a letter saying that after watching this piece, it saved his life. And he's still alive and he didn't commit suicide. Well, I'm not going to work with another choreograph after Pina Bausch. In the meantime, I have been doing I've been so many years working with Pina, but sometimes I stopped and worked with other acting directors, or I did some choreography myself with actors or singers in the opera. But no, I wouldn't be too interested. But I'm not the dance theatre somewhere. Everybody has to know what they want to do themselves. Of course, there are good other choreographers there, but no, for me it was an exceptional thing just working with Pina.